Nobody prepares you for the moment you realize you've been living someone else's life. Not a book, not a mentor, not a single person who claimed to love you. I'm 87 years old, and I need you to hear what I'm about to say, not as inspiration, not as a motivational quote you screenshot and forget by Thursday. I need you to hear it the way you'd hear a doctor say, "We found something," because I found something after 87 years, and it cost me almost everything before I understood it. I grew up in a small coal town in Pennsylvania. We didn't have much. My father worked underground 6 days a week and came home gray. Gray clothes, gray hands, gray eyes. My mother kept a garden and canned tomatoes every fall, like the act of preserving something was the only power she had over a world that took everything else. I was the first in my family to go to college. I left at 18 with a cardboard suitcase and the unshakable belief that if I just worked hard enough, long enough, and sacrificed enough, I would eventually arrive somewhere worth arriving at. I became a civil engineer, built bridges, water systems, drainage infrastructure across 4 states. I married a woman named Ruth at 26. We had a daughter, Carol, and then twin boys, David and Martin. I had everything the blueprint promised, and I spent 30 years too busy to notice any of it. I'm not telling you this because I want sympathy. I'm telling you this because I have outlived nearly everyone who knew me when I was young. My colleagues, my neighbors, 3 of my closest friends, Ruth, and one of my sons. When you've been to that many funerals, something shifts. The nonsense falls away. You stop pretending. And what you're left with, what I'm left with at 87, sitting in a house that's too quiet, is a clarity so sharp it almost hurts to hold it. So listen, really listen, because the things I'm about to tell you, I paid for them in full. Lesson 1. The promotion is not the destination. I was 34 when I got the biggest contract of my career. A county government project, real money, real recognition. I remember calling my father to tell him. He said, "Good, son, don't let it change you." I hung up and went straight back to work. That call was 4 minutes long. I know because I wrote the time in my project log as a note to myself. Call Dad, 4 min, like it was a task to be checked off. My father died 8 months later. Stroke. He was gone between a Wednesday afternoon and a Thursday morning. I never called him back. There was always a deadline, a meeting, a deliverable. I told myself we'd talk more once this project wrapped, once things slowed down. They never slowed down. I made sure of it. I kept taking on more because more meant I was winning. Nobody warns you that ambition, when it goes unchecked, becomes a machine that grinds through the people you love and spits out milestones you won't care about when you're old. I stood at my father's grave holding my hard hat because I'd come straight from a job site. I didn't even own a proper suit at the time. Here's the truth they don't tell you. The promotion doesn't love you back. The contract doesn't remember your name when it's paid out, but your father, your mother, your partner, your children, they're keeping score of something different, not your success, your presence. Don't confuse motion with meaning. Lesson 2. Resentment is a room you build yourself. Ruth and I almost didn't make it. We hit a wall in our early 40s. I was never home. She'd been raising 3 children essentially alone for years while I told myself I was doing it for them. Classic story. I'm not unique in this. What I am is honest about what came next. Instead of sitting with the discomfort of what I'd caused, I resented her for pointing it out. She would say, "You're missing it, all of it," and I would hear it as an attack instead of a warning. We went 2 years barely speaking, beyond logistics. 2 years of passing each other in the hallway of our own home like polite strangers. I told myself she didn't understand the pressure I was under. I told myself I'd explain it when I had the bandwidth. I never had the bandwidth. I just slowly let the house of my marriage fill up with things left unsaid. It took a car accident, nothing fatal, but Ruth in a hospital bed for 9 days, to crack me open. I sat next to her while she slept the second night, and I thought, if she dies and the last real conversation we had was an argument about the electric bill, I don't know how I come back from that. She didn't die. She recovered. And slowly, carefully, we found our way back. But I wasted 2 years. 2 years of dinners, of weekends, of ordinary evenings that could have been warm and were just cold and tense instead. I wish I knew sooner. Resentment isn't something that happens to you. It's something you choose. Every day you don't address it, you're choosing to build that room a little bigger. Whatever you're holding on to right now, the grudge, the grievance, the silent treatment, it is eating alive something that cannot be replaced. Let it go, not for them, for the version of yourself that has to live with what's left. Lesson 3. Children watch what you do, not what you say. My son Martin grew up watching me choose work over everything. I told him with words that family came first. I told him to be present, to be kind, to invest in relationships. I gave speeches at his high school graduation about integrity and balance. And then he watched me miss his first school play, his championship baseball game, and the night his daughter, my granddaughter, was born, because I had a conference call I convinced myself couldn't wait. He didn't say much. He's quiet like me. But by the time he was 30, he was working 70-hour weeks, and his wife was exhausted, and his kids barely knew what their dad looked like at breakfast. Sound familiar? I watched my son become me, not the version of me I described in speeches, the version I actually was, that landed on me like a stone dropped from a height. I had passed down exactly what I never intended to pass down, not through my words, through my choices. Nobody warned me that children inherit your defaults, not your intentions. I sat with Martin 2 summers ago. He's 54 now. And I told him this. I told him what I saw. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. He cried. I cried. We're not a family that does that easily. But here's what happened after. He started leaving work at 6. He coached his son's soccer team. Small things. Consistent things. It's not too late for him. It might not be too late for you, but you have to see it first. You have to be honest enough with yourself to look at your actual calendar, not your intentions, your calendar, and ask, does this reflect what I say I value? Usually it doesn't. Change it before your kids start copying it. Lesson 4. Grief doesn't ask for permission. My other son, David, died at 51, pancreatic cancer. I'll just leave that sentence sitting there for a moment because it deserves to sit. You don't recover from watching your child die. You don't find silver linings. You don't come out the other side with wisdom that makes it make sense. What you do, if you're lucky, if you're paying attention, is you stop wasting what's left. After David died, I noticed how much of my remaining life I was spending bracing for loss instead of leaning into what was still here. I was so afraid of loving anyone too much because losing David had nearly destroyed me. So I kept a careful distance from joy, from full presence, from letting myself love without armor. I wasted 3 years doing that. 3 years of keeping Carol at arm's length because I was terrified of losing her too. 3 years of guarded conversations with my grandchildren when I should have been on the floor playing with them. Grief doesn't ask for permission. It will come for you whether you've protected yourself or not. The armor doesn't work. It just costs you the good years while it's on. I wish someone had grabbed me by the shoulders and said, "Love loudly now, because the loss is coming either way. Your pain is real, your fear is understandable, but it is not a reason to stay half present in a life that is still, right now, full of people worth loving completely." Lesson 5. The ordinary moments are the ones that last. Here's the thing nobody tells you about old age. You don't replay your achievements. You don't sit in your chair and relive your promotions or your completed projects or the year you hit your financial targets. You replay Saturday mornings. You replay the way Ruth used to make coffee and bring it to me without asking. Just set it down next to whatever I was reading. You replay the summer your kids were young and you rented a cabin by a lake, and there was one afternoon, just one, where nobody needed anything and everyone was just there, together in the sun. You replay the small things, the forgettable things, the things you were too distracted to fully receive when they were happening. That's the cruelest part of memory. It saves what your attention ignored. I can close my eyes and see David's face at 8 years old when he caught his first fish, the way he held it up, all proud and disgusted at the same time. I wasn't fully there that day. I was thinking about a project. I remember the fish. I barely remember looking at my son. I would give everything I built to have that afternoon back and just look at him. The ordinary moments are not ordinary. They are the whole thing. They are what life actually is, not the mountaintops, not the milestones, but the unremarkable Tuesday evenings and the slow Sunday mornings and the 10 minutes you spend just sitting on the porch watching the light change. Those are happening right now, today, for you, and you are missing them. I'm 87. The math is simple. I don't say that for sympathy. I say it because it makes me useful to you in a way I couldn't have been at 40 or 50 or even 70. I have perspective that only comes from standing near the end and looking back at the whole length of it. And here's what I see when I look back. A man who was loved more than he deserved. A man who built things and lost things and was given more second chances than he earned. A man who figured out too late that presence is the only thing that matters. Not as a philosophy, but as a daily practice. The moments I'm most grateful for are not the ones I planned. They're the ones I accidentally showed up for, the ones where I wasn't distracted or calculating or somewhere else in my head. I want you to have more of those, not accidentally, on purpose. You're going to forget this. I know that. I forgot it too, for decades at a time. But here's what I'd ask of you, the only thing. When you forget, and you will, come back. Come back to the room you're actually in. Come back to the person sitting across from you. Come back to the conversation that's happening now instead of the one you're rehearsing in your head. Not perfectly. You won't do it perfectly. Nobody does. But persistently. That's the whole game. Forgetting and returning. Drifting and coming back. Do it enough times. And at the end, you'll have fewer of the moments that haunt me. Fewer of the conversations you didn't quite show up for. Fewer faces you were too distracted to memorize while you still had the chance. There's someone in your life right now who doesn't need something grand from you. They don't need a gesture or a gift or a planned experience. They just need you, actually you. Phone down, eyes up, ears open. Go be that for them today, because I can tell you from 87 years of evidence, later is a story we tell ourselves. It almost never comes.